Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, a podcast where I sit down with some of my friends in the local Columbus, Ohio theater, film, and improv scene and talk a bunch of geeky stuff. Some of it good, some of it bad, but all of it definitely geeky. If you enjoy our program, be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and to leave a review or subscribe wherever you can get podcasts. Our official sponsor of the show is Audible. With over 200,000 titles to choose from, get one audiobook and 2 Audible originals each month included with your trial, even once your trial ends and normal membership begins. Best part is you own your library, meaning you keep the books even if you cancel with easy exchanges. So if you don't love a book, swap it out for free anytime. Sign up for your free trial over at audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky. Download the Audible app and start enjoying your new audiobook now. Also, support for this podcast has been made possible by our Kickstarter backers, Ashley Carson, Catherine Ranella, Wooz, Yannick, Doug Poeta, Christopher LeBlanc, Andrew, Kenny, Jerome Wetzel, Casey May, Anonymous, Tavia Ordway, Anthony Portillo, Jen and Brian Petrie, Guest 16554255418, Laura Spires, Kimberly Barr, Kyle Jepson. We here at The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky want to advise listeners that this episode was recorded during the pandemic between the end of 2019 and the end of 2020. This episode, I am here with
Nathan
as we sit down to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, on this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. And a word of warning, there will be spoilers aplenty on the movie, and not just on that, but other little things involving the Turtles and other things we might talk about. So listener, beware. And if there's anything you want to talk about or say about the first Ninja Turtle movie, join in on the conversation by interacting with us via social media or email. Twitter and Instagram is username goodbadgeeky, or email me at goodbadgeeky@gmail.com. We may read your comment on a future episode of the show. We have a blast from the past because we're talking about the classic 1990 film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Woo!
Which is, I wanted to talk about this one for a while because it's hard to watch it with a critical eye, and it's still hard. I still have I don't really have a lot of problems with it, but we'll just start off, we'll do something a little different. Normally we start off with like, what does everyone think of the film after rewatching it or watching it for the first time? But we're going to do a twist, which was, what was your favorite turtle back in the day? And did you see the film when it first came out, like in theaters, or did you see it on home video?
Are you asking me right now?
Yeah.
Oh, because the way you set that up, those were the questions you were going to ask.
Well, that was me technically asking them. You're
okay.
right. This is why I'm not a good host. This is why
I know
I'm not
it came out in it came out in 1990. I remember having it on VHS, but I could not tell you if I saw it in theaters or not. I have no idea. I do know that I watched it at home, but I do not know if I watched it in theaters.
Did you rent it? Did you buy it, or did you remember?
We had the VHS. We had it.
I remember we didn't get the VHS right away, and like Cardinals used to have, which is our local supermarket where we grew up. You would put a request in, and especially for the big movies like TMNT 2, what other big movies were back then. As a kid, you're not paying attention to other things. You're only paying attention to the Turtle movies or whatever else. I remember Mortal Kombat was a big one, Batman Forever, but Men in Black.
No, I remember owning it. I remember the case, and I remember having to take the case. I remember like having to slide the case off the paper. Yeah. So I do know that I owned it, but I don't know if I owned it because of the theater or what.
Fair. Well, what was your favorite turtle back then?
I don't think I've ever had one.
Well, that's interesting.
If I had to pick one, I think I would go. I don't know. Based off the video game, I liked Donatello the best, but based off the movie, I don't know. They're all stupid. I don't know. I guess I relate to the older I get, the more like Raphael's my soulmate. Like we all want to be Michelangelo with the brains of Donatello and like the
honor of Leonardo
and like the leadership skills of Donatello. But as I get older, I'm just Raph. I just want to effing punch everything. Like I want to murder everyone. But then it's like, you know what? I love my family, but I will kill them if I have to.
Yeah, and you're a loner, you know, which
exactly. Like I could leave Ohio. I could leave this world. Well, I mean, I'd be dead, but with proper headgear, I could leave this world and be fine.
Now, with proper headgear, you mean like a red bandana?
Absolutely. No helmet or oxygen, just that red bandana.
You were mean literal leaving the world.
Literally, like I'm squatulate and go. Now, I guess my question for you is, I've maybe read 4 comics in my entire life, and 3 of them I think were like dentist comics, not comics from a dentist, literally like it was a magazine about dentistry. Like I've looked at comics and I've looked at books, but like as far as like, here's the first page. And I remember going through the comic phase. Like I bought like, I don't know, 5 or 6, but I think I just did this and was like, and just sat it down. But how do you think the first movie goes along with the comics?
Oh, really?
I have no idea.
Well, in terms of that, we're just talking about the first one because it's important to note the first one is really heavily influenced by the comics. Like,
is it really? Okay.
Yeah, the only thing it really grabs from the cartoon show is their personalities, unfortunately, because the TV show had the personalities a little bit more crystal clear, you know, in terms of what all the duties was. Like, you saw them
confused by Donatello in the movie because I kept thinking like, okay, well, he's going to be the smart one. He was really dumb until like the last 25 minutes, and I was like, okay, he may be the smart one, but that's only because I already know that he's the smart one.
Yeah,
because like when you're watching, because he's not like, I kept waiting for Perestroika the whole fucking time. I didn't realize, I don't remember which one that's in. I think it's in the second one.
Oh,
but like,
yeah.
As the movie but like relating to Donatello for science, relating to him to fix things. If you're watching the first movie, you really don't know. Like, you know, Raph's the loner.
Ralph.
You know, Mike is the funny one. You know, Leonardo is the leader, but Donatello kind of just seems like a hybrid. You can argue with it, but if we base it just off the first movie, he doesn't really show. I mean, he does like this thing where like they look at him like when they're saying like words when they're happy, and he's just doing this, and you're waiting for. I mean, he says like a word that's like 2 syllables. Like, why would that make him smart? I mean,
yeah.
Splinter says cowabunga. That's 4 syllables. Is he? I mean, but anyway.
Yeah.
I don't remember the original question.
No, you asked how close are they to the comics, and I would say so. The movie also takes April O'Neil from the cartoon show where she's a reporter, and then and outside of the personalities, I think that's the major thing they take from the cartoon show. There's no Bebop. So in the comic books, there was no Bebop and Rocksteady. Krang was not a bad guy, which, you know, was interesting because they could have gone down the Krang route right off the bat, and it would have been. And honestly,
Did they do that in the new movies? Like, I haven't seen like the new Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, so the first new Ninja Turtles, they're called the Bay Turtles, or Michael. They're by the baby. We're gonna cut that out. 3, 2.
Don't you mock me?
No, I'm not mocking you. I was mocking how horrible that was. Like, I couldn't even get a coherent word out. Michael Bay's Turtles. I don't know what they're. Bay Turtles. I'm thinking of Bayformers.
Those are the new ones?
Yeah.
The new ones look like they're 9 feet tall.
They are. And the first movie has... Nathan, and now knowing my luck, you would watch it and you would find it to be actually enjoyable. But to me, they had so many moments of Captain America like moments that you explained to me about what your problems with the first Captain America movie is.
Oh, I watched in the first movie, I had to go back. I didn't even make it 5 minutes. So Raphael throws a sigh at a light. And you can tell it didn't work. And they were just like, you know what? Just cut the power, make it look like it.
Oh, see, I didn't catch that at all.
Like, so I remember, like, so April is, I mean, so.
Well, I remember the scene. I don't remember it.
It's so easy to predict the movie as I'm old. I don't know if when I was 7, if it was as easy, but she just gets off the newscast and then like they're showing crime. I mean, like the story, I mean, it's not a bad story, but you can tell it was made in the 90s and you can tell the focus was just on the turtles and the plot was like, well, if it happens, because it's just like, all this is happening. And it's just so like no one apparently is helping because these kids aren't goddamn Rembrandts. They're 9 years old, I don't know, 22 years old. And it's not like you can't stop them.
Yeah.
Like the wallet thing was kind of genius. I mean, I liked how like obviously it was a movie set, but you can kind of see how people in crime would work like that. I still don't agree with the guy didn't feel it because you could watch the pants move and you're like, no, he would feel that, but his character doesn't feel it.
Yeah, that's based after an old troop.
I love the transition of how quick they moved and the foot and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there obviously were a lot of good things. What I didn't realize was when I was a kid, I never watched like the credits and really saw like what went into the Turtles. Like I just knew that Corey Feldman was the voice of someone. But like I didn't realize that there was like an actor who was the turtle, an actor that like moved the turtle. There like each turtle had like 3 people or something. Like it wasn't just like Corey Feldman. Was he Michelangelo?
No, he was Donatello.
Donatello, okay. It wasn't just like Corey Feldman was Donatello. It was like this person, and then like way at the end, it showed like that he voiced it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's the only thing that people notice. I mean,
oh yeah,
it was the voice that like made each character. Like you take the headband off, you don't fucking know which one's which, especially if they don't have any weapons. It's the voice that makes them like. I mean, well, I guess they could be different colors of green. I'm not trying to be a speciesist.
No, I disagree with that because if you read, I don't know, maybe it's just because like if you did that with the cartoon show, I really do feel like Jim Henson Productions, they made the characters look in a particular way. Like Raphael kind of has beadier eyes than the other 3. Leonardo, they're beady, but they're a little bit bigger. Also, Leo's a little bit taller. Michelangelo is the shorter of the group, but also like in terms of his face, his eyes are more wide. There are little things that are bizarre.
Well, if I were to look for those, I would be able to notice.
Maybe, but I mean, it always sounds like you're looking for other stuff anyway. So, but
I already zoned out when you're like, well, this is this.
No,
you're the big turtle guy, but the voices are crucial. I mean, would you agree on that? Like,
you can
hear them talk. Okay, that's what I mean. Like, it just seemed like
totally.
It was like the guy that narrated the Grinch. Like, he wasn't even put into the credits when that movie first came out. And it's just like almost how I felt with this. I'm like, well, the people who did the voices should be first because like they did like the coolest stuff.
So you made a comment about Donatello, like you weren't really, and granted, you're also basing that after what you know of the character in general from the cartoon show and other media. But I
never watched the cartoon, to be honest.
But maybe just from the theme song in the video game or whatever, that Leo leads, Donatello builds machines. Michelangelo's cool, or Raphael's cool but rude. Give me a break. Michelangelo is the party dude. Like that's ingrained in everyone our ages, even if you didn't watch the show. So Donatello builds machines. Like you're thinking he's a smart guy. He's a genius. When you watch that movie, you don't really get that at all. But there are some really interesting like acting things that he is doing and how they all did. But like in particular, if you watch the other 2 movies, it's missing. And part of the problem is the actor who played Donatello in the suit, I believe was the kid who plays Kino in the second movie, the pizza delivery boy. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
It's cool, but there are some little things like, and not just in how he does jokes and all that, but like, some of the little things, how he rubs his head around and stuff like that. And part of it was like, well, that looks stupid, but in retrospect, like it's consistent throughout the whole movie of how the character carries himself. But I will say this though, too, in terms of this film was made for way less money than you think it would be even for 1990. Like, I think it was made for maybe $5-10 million. And they almost shut down production like 7 times because they were running out of, and you got to think about like back then, like a Jim Henson production would probably cost about $20 million, $30 million. I feel like I remember that was a big source of contention in Jim Henson's autobiography, which is first off, Jim felt that the violence was a little too strong, but
in the Turtles movie?
Yeah, in the first one. They needed money
There
though,
was
so they
never
could.
any blood.
There wasn't. The turtles.
Was there?
Well, actually,
Well,
there was.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. There
No,
was
you're
never
good.
any blood on the turtles. Yeah, yeah. For the
Yeah,
people, like it's like especially when Splinter scratched his
Saki.
shredder. I don't remember his real name.
You're good.
But like you could see a little bit of blood there, or like on Casey Jones, you saw a little bit of blood and stuff like that. So I guess yes, there was a little bit, but the violence that was put out did not reflect what would really happen in real life.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, like if you pay attention, like Raphael's size, like the two edges of both of his sides are like tapered off. Mm-hmm. So it dulls them instantly. You know, I just remember that when Turtles 2 came out, it was way more jokey. And not that the first one wasn't jokey either, but they never really used their weapons. That's why the whole opening, like they're using like stuff around the mall to beat the bad guys up, because it was a whole thing. Like, yeah, it's really weird. And I one of the things that I was commenting on with, not to tie this into another podcast, and I don't know when this will come out in relation to that one, but one of the things we talked about in the Muppet Christmas Carol was Michael Caine. Whatever your thoughts of the Muppet Christmas Carol aside, is Michael Caine fully believes what he is doing as Scrooge, as Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, the dude he's treating the Muppets like they're fellow performers on a Shakespearean stage doing a Christmas Carol. You know,
I've never seen it.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, if you've seen any Muppet thing, like even Ninja Turtles or whatever, there are always times where there are some actors that just, they're having so much fun that they forget to kind of act. Or there are others that they act, but they're also having fun. And there are others that just fully commit to it. Like, I will say, everyone in the Turtle movie that I saw that had to interact with the Turtles fully committed to Splinter and the Turtles and whatever. And it was really nice. Because sometimes when you see that, it's jarring, and especially with how ridiculous everything is. Like, I understand how ridiculous it is. 4 mutant turtles, bipedal turtles that know ninja. And it's not even like real ninjutsu. It's like what the comic books in the 70s and 80s taught people was ninjutsu, which was like, silent assassins and like sneaking up on people. And that's not necessarily real ninjutsu, but like, well, let me put it this way. Ninjas supposedly don't have any honor. You know what I mean? But like Splinter talks about honor and having honor and this and that. And it's like, that's not really how ninjas roll, but okay. Like, you're really talking about Bushido and all this other bullshit like that. Okay, sure. You're mixing your stuff, but.
Well, he did his best. He was a rat in a cage, despite all his rage.
Well,
like,
yeah, that's
you didn't get my joke. That's fine.
No, I got it. The cage and all the rage. I'm picking up what you're putting down. No, but I was really struck with how even like the actors who you've never seen again, at least that I haven't seen again after this movie. I've seen the girl who plays April in a few things, but like she was in Armageddon, I believe, if I remember correctly. But like the kid who plays Danny, the kid who play, Tatsu and all these other people, I've never really seen them again, but they've fully committed to the world that the Turtles inhabit. And it was kind of refreshing. Like, that never took me out of the moment of what the movie was trying to do. The only thing that would take me out of the moment was very clearly the Shredder was an afterthought. And that's kind of how he was in the comic. Well, when he came back, that's kind of how he was in the comics too. But it was all about the Turtles, and that's fine too. But like, the villain Shredder wasn't super complex, and that was kind of a bummer in retrospect. But yeah. Now, did you? Man, you probably don't even know who he is. Shit, what is his name? You ever seen Galaxy Quest?
Yes.
Okay, you remember the guy?
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, he was in the white shirt. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was almost like it almost seemed like he was the leader of the kids.
Yeah. Well, he had a scene that got cut out where Shredder beat the fuck out of him, and it's like a weird. Really? Yeah. So the scene where he comes in, and it's the first time you see the Shredder, and they do that whole like, it's actually a kind of cool music cue. It doesn't sound like 80s synth. It comes in, and he looks around, and Danny's just like, "Hey, I have a clue to where the Turtles are." Well, if you notice in the background, like he's in the background suddenly standing there, and he's holding his arm and his blood running down his arms because Shredder just sliced the fuck out of him because the Turtles got away or something like that. Or they didn't. Oh. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you caught this. Do you remember the story of Pinocchio ever at all?
like the 15 minutes of the movie I've seen.
Well, like, you know how
in, and then Geppetto is praying, and then Pinocchio becomes real.
Comes a real boy.
And then he goes to some like island where like boys just do what they want.
Yes, that right there. Yes, exactly. That was
Lost Boys thing.
Kind of. The Lost Boys were more secluded off, and they weren't necessarily mean and robbing people. I mean, unless you are on the pirate side, which is, you know, because pirates kill people. The Lost Boys and supposedly in the books were actually not super bad, but again, your mileage may vary, I guess, on how you view that. But the island where with the misfit boys, where they're just kind of running amok and smoking and playing cards or whatever, that's technically what they were trying to do with that. Like, the Shredder created this playground for them, and then when they finally got serious enough, he would recruit them and either, you know, make them Foot Clan members, which in retrospect was kind of interesting. But I just wish we could have seen how that came about or something, because it just felt like a nice little idea, but it wasn't really well built upon. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Do you remember Casey Jones from the movie that much, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. He holds up really well too, man.
Yeah, I thought that, I mean, that character, I mean, he's just your typical, like, your typical a-hole character.
Oh, yeah.
You're waiting to hear more. I mean, he has the most like repressed anger. He has the most issues. You kind of hear a little bit, and then you wonder, will it come later? It's weird that is he in the second movie?
He's in the third one, but not in the second one.
Okay. Because I remember when the second movie came out, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if Casey died.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously when I was a kid. And
Sure.
And I'm just, because I mean, it's just like, what's his name from X-Men? The blue.
Oh, Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. Yeah. Nightcrawler's like huge in whatever X-Men movie he's introduced. So, yeah. And then the third one, he's gone. Yeah. Never see him again. So that's how I felt Casey was. Like, he comes in. It is not possible to hit someone with enough force to launch them with a cricket bat, with a golf club. I hated that. Now, I understand, like, when I was 7, I bet it was fucking great. I bet it was, I don't know if I can curse, I forget.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, good. But, bazinga. But, like, it just, I mean, because when that was my biggest thing with him, because, like, I'm like, well, this isn't going to happen in real life. Although you're right. I mean, walking turtles, talking and fighting, you know, obviously, you know, a cricket bat and a golf club. Well, the golf club, was it Tatsu? I can't remember his name. Tatsu Tinsel?
Tatsu.
Yeah. With Tatsu, he grabs the golf club, which I don't know how, if I am standing over you and I'm watching you, I'm going to see you pull out a 4-foot club. It's just how it is. Like, you're not going to not see him grab that weapon. Therefore, if he is trained the way he is trained, you're not going to be surprised that he sets up, rears back, and then swings.
Well, didn't he kick him in the...
It's like the Danny kick in the Karate Kid. Danny should never have won. If you don't know that somebody who's lifting their foot is going to raise the other foot, I don't know what to tell you. And it had to go up over 5 feet in the air to hit him in the face. Sorry. Where were we? Anyway, Casey. I kind of wanted to know more of his background, because unless it's something that I missed, which could possibly have been, all we know is that he used to play hockey for less than a year, and now he doesn't. I was interested to know, like, his background, like April's background. I mean, I kind of related to April because I guess she inherited a store.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like, if you blink or like turn your head for a minute, you miss it. Like, I think her dad is dead the way she was talking.
Yeah.
I don't know about her mom. And
yeah, they didn't.
I always thought that she and Dan, I had forgotten this. I always thought she and Danny were brother and sister. Like, I know they're not. I know, but like, because of the way they talked with each other.
It's really because they're gingers, right? Right.
No, Nate? I mean, I guess
I was kidding. But, like, I was kidding.
Every time, like, you have the bald guy with the glasses in the house, and, you know, they're arguing, and she's there, and her rapport with Danny. I mean, you can see. I mean, they have a brother sister type of rapport. Like he goes to her, you know, when he runs away, like to the apartment and everything. And you know, she's like, she treats him like she is protective of him, like a brother sister thing. I know they're not. I get it.
No. Hold on. I do have a. He didn't run to her house though. When he got arrested, though, that's not how that
apartment. Like when he ran away.
When he ran away, but he didn't go. He just went to the turtle lair. He was already there. The turtles happened to go back because they were returning to New York. Is that what you're? Or are you talking about when like Danny and his dad come in and the turtles are hiding in the apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. So
he hadn't run away at that point.
Okay, yeah, he hadn't run away from that point. The only reason why he's there is he doesn't want to be there. He hates being there. He hates even being with his dad. His dad picked him up from the police station and brought him to the apartment because part of the arrangement with what's his name, Stearns, is that I'll let your kid go if you tell April O'Neil to ease up on the story. So, I was just curious. I was like, whoa, wait, he didn't go seek April out. Like, it's purely, now, if you want to say coincidence, that kind of thing, I would say, sure, that like he ends up in the turtles lair. But that's one thing they don't remember them saying or making clear, though. How the fuck did Danny find the turtle lair? Because he never went down there unless he went with the Foot Clan or something. That's a little vague.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, I was like, well, hold on. He didn't go to April. He didn't seek April. I was just curious, like, if that's what you were. Okay. Nope. Fair enough. Splinter holds up really well, I will say too. I remember seeing that with my dad, and it was weird and awkward because it was talking about fathers and sons and shit. And I was like, I don't want to be there with my dad when I'm like feeling emotions and stuff about their dad. And then I'm kind of feeling it about my dad and he's there. It's weird and awkward.
I've always wondered how Splinter even mutated. They never show him in the ooze.
Well, it's because he was picking up the turtles, but technically he was already
in the ooze because in his story, he came up to them and just put them in a bag.
But the turtles
were in that bag. They weren't oozing. I get that. I guess and again, we just have to assume that he like rolled in it, but like they never show it.
Well, first off, so here's the thing: a lot of people miss. He was already a mutant before he touched the mutagen.
Okay.
Because, I mean,
that makes sense. I mean, because he's in a cage doing martial arts and he's like 6 inches tall. So
exactly.
I had a feeling. I mean, the ooze that's in America, did it come from? Because he was in Japan when he was learning to fight with Master Yoshi.
Actually, he was in, I think, Japan and America when that happened.
But he was in Japan when during the scene where they showed him like, high yachting.
No, that was in New York. That was New York.
In Japan, because then they showed that girl, and then he came to New York, and then she convinced Yoshi to come to New York.
You're right. Sorry. Yeah. The death scene where he scratched Saki on the face.
Giant turtles here.
Well, sure. But I mean, so what was
it? They died in New York.
They died in New York, yeah. Because after that, Splinter had nowhere to go but into the sewers and to salvage for what he could find.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so if there's a small child like rummaging around through stuff. Now, granted, turtles can't go on their backs. If so, that's bad. They crawl through the ooze, and you're like scooping them up into a can. You're going to touch the ooze itself at some point, maybe not intentionally, and that's what he says. He scoops them up into an old coffee can. And when they woke up the next day, they doubled in size, and in particularly an intellect or something like that. So,
then to develop communication, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that
pizza.
Yeah, if you touch dough, Nathan, you're going to get flour on you, correct?
No, horrible example. The flour is in the dough. You mean if I add dough or add flour?
Not necessarily.
You mean in your brain? Yes.
Okay.
You're grabbing because dough is just
back in the day when I would mess with pizza.
Now you add flour to go through the machine, but I'm only that's my choice.
So I put it through the machine, right? Okay. And then I put it onto the pan, and then I hand it to somebody else to put toppings and shit on it, right?
No, we don't. See, at Todd's, we can make our own pizza.
Okay.
We don't need like
hypothetically, if that happens to you, say you get a call and you have to do something else, and someone else has to finish making the pizza, they're going to probably get some residue of the flour from that pan, correct? Yeah.
Is that what you want?
Well, in this example, yes, because that's how
that answer. Well, this is your day. Then yes.
This is not my day.
Yes.
No, I'm just trying to
heavily floured pizza to crust, but
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the turtles. Like the bottom parts are heavily oozed because they've been crawling in it, and if he even touches one little bit of that, it's gonna mutate him. To answer your question, though, where did the ooze come from? They talk about that in Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which...
Jordan, what was his name?
Dr. Perry? No.
Jordan Perry.
Jordan Perry. Ooh, yeah, look at you. Yeah, I got Perry.
I just remember Jordan because I was in my Michael Jordan phase. And I was like, that's so cool.
2 is where the ooze comes from. Turtles 3 is where Casey Jones returns, and they go back in time.
Yeah, the power scepter or sifter.
Yeah,
the lantern that spins.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like a little, but so from the way you're talking, Nathan, I'm surprised you were able to finish the movie.
I remember as a kid enjoying it. So that's how I tried to watch it. And I mean, I didn't mind the story. It was interesting to watch it fully again and to try to have that sense of wonder that I used to have, like how cool, the Foot's lair was. Not trying to think like how they can possibly afford the electricity bill and all that stuff because, all that's going on there, or the fact that like the cigarettes never go down as they're actually smoking them, not worrying about like where their parents are, just enjoying the fact that there was a place where you could just be bad. You could be yourself. I always thought, though, the main thing that I was upset about, Donato's Pizza. In my heart of hearts, I was like, I'm waiting for the Pizza Hut guy. Because the one thing I remember was like, Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. And when that came up, like, I knew I remembered that number. And when it was Donato's, like, I think what threw me off at first was because the first pizza box you see is when they're down below, before like the later in the movie where it's delivered and it takes $3 off or whatever. I'm like, Donato's.
Oh, Domino's. Yeah.
Oh, it was Domino's, not Donato's. It was Domino's. Okay.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking, I swear I thought it was Pizza Hut. And did it ever switch? Like, or like in the arcade, was it Pizza Hut in the arcade game? Because Domino's was the furthest thing away from my mind.
So I remember going to Pizza Hut and because they had pizza, like officially sponsored turtle stuff. But you're not. I feel like there's a Pizza Hut like box somewhere. Same thing with Burger King, somewhere in like the Shredder's lair for all the teenagers. But like I can't remember where it was at, and I feel like it's kind of in the background. So
they had Burger King and Burger King and Domino's dominated that movie. But I just, for some reason, Pizza Hut, I was like, I'm waiting for Pizza. Like, where's the Pizza Hut box? And I'm like, Domino, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like one of those things you think and then you rewatch it. I was way off. I would have. Somebody bet me $1 million. I would have lost it.
Yeah. No, by the way, I was trying to find. I feel like there's a thing that another writer threw out there. It's like a thing where it's like you can only have one unbelievable bit. And for some reason, it made me think of you when you watch things. Because, like, for example, Ninja Turtles, you can suspend disbelief that there are mutant turtles and a rat. But, like, if the continuity is off or something else is off, I think you just, holy shit. And granted, I think it also helps that you've seen the movie before, too, like, from your childhood. I think that's the only way you were able to finish.
I still had hopes and dreams back then.
Well, is that what it was? Okay.
That's probably what it is.
Okay, that makes sense. Bummer.
Yeah.
How's your day? Oh, it's great. My dreams are dying. The norm, the huge. But I can't think of how he calls it. It's like a juju or the weird. Like you get one coincidence of something that you can instantly lay down and go, okay, I can suspend disbelief long enough to get that this is what's happening. But if there's anything more than that, usually the writer though was talking about big like story swings, and I can't think of what it was. Like he gave examples of where they, there were two big moments that kind of counteracted each other. But I feel like that applies to you though on a much smaller level. Like you're willing to buy a big like aliens invading Earth or like Spider-Man web slinging through New York, but anything after that, it's very, yeah. So
I would agree.
Yeah, the fact that you even got through Turtles in retrospect was impressive, Nathan.
I mean, I still don't understand. Like, I remember Raph going to the movies. Like, I'm going to the movies. Really?
Yeah.
You physically see that he's green and big and that there's a problem. You see his legs. He doesn't have feet. He has 2 toes. You see this. They even pan out. You see it from far away. Like, but again, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I think
like Casey is the only one that sees him as he's, venting to do like, he's doing martial arts to relieve his stress at the top of the building. And Casey's the only one that sees him. That's that sort of thing. I hate those shots because those take me out of it. You don't show a fucking city like New York and tell me that only one person has seen this goddamn turtle. It is not possible.
Well, I think,
or the fact that like all Shredder does is talk about how like you need to be, in the shadows, or like you can't be seen, that sort of thing. Then as soon as they meet April, let's just go out. We're in the hallway of a fucking apartment complex in New York City where she obviously lives at the top of it because he goes to the top. Like, what is going on? Like, they're going to have to be seen. It's New York City. It's not like a village in like, where I live, or like a village in like Norwegia.
Interesting. Yeah, because to me, I always remember even in the vibe I got in Ghostbusters was that, or in all movies that took place in New York, is that you don't pay attention to other people around you because when you do, bad shit happens. So you're not looking around at like what people are wearing or whatever. And now, granted, they could have maybe made a point to reference that. I don't disagree with that because it's
just the shots that made me mad. Like when the camera is physically showing the people like looking at him. Like, and I don't know if they're thinking, because I mean, it is like in New York City, I do understand, like, I've been there a couple times to know, like, it takes a lot to shock people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if 30 years ago, like, it's not a big deal. Maybe he just got done at a costume party. Maybe he just played a kid's birthday. Like, I get that they could be thinking that, but like, it's just weird that like they don't show like people second guessing, or like the cab driver that's like, yeah, it's a turtle. It's a green turtle on a suit. I guess maybe that was their way of showing like if they're in a jacket, they're not going to think anything of it. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I see that didn't.
Or how April O'Neil is always alone when she leaves somewhere. She goes down to the subway. She's the only one in the subway terminal. No.
That's budgetary stuff. That's them. They don't have the money to pay for extras.
They had the money
probably
to clear it out. It takes more money to clear people out than it is.
I don't think that's an actual subway, though, Nathan. I think that's a set in North Carolina.
Where she was trying to get on the subway and she missed it and they mugged her? Well, they tried.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like they might have used some like one or two like shots of the actual subway, but
in New York City, but when they went down, it was North Carolina.
Yeah, so just imagine that all the shots in New York when they're above ground, outside of like wide shots of the entire city, or like random shots when like Danny gets out of his car or whatever, like it's all like a backlot set in North Carolina in the middle of summer. So like every time you see the turtles wearing all that, those guys are sweating to death in those suits doing like ninjutsu and shit. But I digress. Yeah, I guess I don't really this stuff doesn't really bother me because I guess I don't know. Like to me,
it bothers me because you're going to predict what happens. If you're just going to show her like, oh, it just missed the subway. Shoot. Of course she's going to get attacked. There's no mystery there.
And I will say too, also that the time of day she's leaving is also not a good excuse either, because it's in the evening. Now, well, New York never sleeps. It's the city that never sleeps. So even if you go like at 2:00 in the morning, it's going to be kind of full, but it won't be as full as if you go in the afternoon and evening, which is when she went. But that part is an actual legitimately, like, I could see that's actually a legitimate gripe. I can agree with you on, like, why the hell are there not like people on the subway? And I know that deep down that's because of budgetary restrictions, but on the other side of it though, it's just like, well, it's like also all the people during the fight scene in the city street, like, why the hell is nobody like coming out besides the teenage kids and Splinter and whatever else? You know what I mean? Like, that's a possible, like plot problem that they didn't really think about. But I just, I don't know. I think that I've already suspended disbelief into what was going on and buying how they were telling the story, that it didn't bother me in the moment. But that is actually a legit gripe that you pointed out in that regard.
What about how Shredder died?
Well, he didn't die. So
I know, but you're in a trash compactor. Like,
the
only armor they show is his helmet, his shoulder pads, and his hand stuff. So, but a trash compactor is very strong. Like, it is meant, like, all Shredder does is basically have Pepsi cans on his head, his hands, and in his face. It's just metal. The same thing that you see when you throw your trash away. I was confused. I'm still confused to this day how he got out of it.
I don't love that either. The thing they did in the comic book is that he was cloned by worms or something like that. And that is ridiculous. I just felt like the comic books, whatever you think of them, they're way more grounded, or they're trying to be more grounded. Like,
does he die the same way in the comic?
No, in the comic book, he gets, so he dies two ways.
I mean, I'm sorry. I say die. I guess what I mean was, is there his hint of death, like in the first movie? Like,
oh no,
hinted that he dies by the trash compactor.
No, the comic books they were independent, so they weren't by Marvel or DC, meaning that you could do whatever you wanted in. Like, the Turtles used to cuss and drink beer. They didn't say the F word or anything. I think the worst thing they said was "let's kick some ass" or "damn it" or "son of a bitch," or "god damn it," I think was the other one. But no, the very first issue, the whole issue ends with the Turtles challenge Shredder to a duel because they were giving vengeance for Splinter's master, Hamato Yoshi. So they challenge him to a duel. They come out, and it's pretty much the fight scene on top of the roof. They all go at him one at a time, and they realize that he can't take them all at the same time. And in the process, Shredder takes all of them out, not kills them, but he disables all of them except for Leonardo. And it becomes kind of like in the movie where it's Leo versus Shredder, and they're keeping up, and then he gets a slice in, or no, in the comic books, he runs him through and pulls out the sword, and is like, "Before you die, I'll let you commit seppuku," which is like an honorable way of emptying your bowels out for honor. And he refuses to do that, and instead pulls out a thermal grenade, and Donatello knocks him off the roof, and he blows himself up. That's how the comic book ends.
It'd be hard to make a sequel if that happened. Okay.
Well, right, and part of the thing is that's why, and when they, in the Return to New York storyline, when Shredder shows back up, it's, wait, we killed you. How can this be? And then it gets into like, oh, well, the Foot Clan, the people left, they took his remains and they started cloning him through this worm thing. And so it's like this, he doesn't even look like the Shredder, like in terms of like his face, because they show his face a lot in the first issue. He looks normal. He looks like a normal Asian guy. And then in this one, when you do see him, it's like, it looks like it was eaten and regurgitated out by worms or something crazy like that. And then Leonardo challenges him to a duel and beheads him in that one. So
that doesn't happen in the second movie.
No, it doesn't at all. Matter of fact, Shredder, that infuriated me too.
The second movie is less believable that he would die than the first one.
Yeah.
The first one, a trash compactor, that's pretty believable that the average person would die. I get it. But like in the second one, the bay falls on top of them.
Right. And it's like, well, but hold on. I guess that's my thing, is that the thing that I thought was interesting is that in the first movie, he should have died from the fall alone, right?
Oh yeah, landing. I just assumed that the dump truck was severely full of smooth helping trash.
Smooth helping.
Maybe it was like Pillow Day.
Right, right, and so you're thinking, okay,
I mean,
well, he could get out of that.
It's at least from a 10-story building, if not.
Oh my God, yeah, which is terrifying. But then you have Casey Jones do the whole oops, and he murders the guy. Well, it should be murder.
That's what I was wondering. Is like, well, the cops would have to interview him and find, was it, this self-defense, and there's a whole big issue on that.
Yeah, but again,
it kills him.
Well, that's like Die Hard. Have you seen Die Hard recently?
Not recently.
Like
I've never seen the whole thing all the way through. I need to.
Oh, I don't know if
I
you
love
get
the
through
Die
it.
Hard. I love the Die Hard movies. I've never seen one all the way through, but I love Die Hard and Lethal Weapon.
So yeah, well, I mean, Nate, like even though he's a cop, he would be questioned. Like, well, why did you do this? You endangered these people. Like the guy who got killed because he tried to rat John McClane out. Like technically that's because John was doing shit that was endangering the other people. And so like he was raising the attention, you know what I mean? Like he would answer for that in real life. They might clear him, but like he would get like suspended or fired or something crazy like that before what is it? The police union tells the police chief to hire him back on. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things. Like he would probably get the bill. That's the one thing I'll give Ghostbusters 2 credit on. I love the second movie, not as much as the first one, because it's like a good comedy versus like, a good movie, so to speak. But like, that's the one thing that you go, well, that sucks. And the reason it sucks is because it's true. The Ghostbusters would totally be sued by the city of New York for causing a massive catastrophic event. Even though they saved the day, they would be totally billed for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which would cause him to go out of bit. Like that makes total sense in reality. Like, and I feel it's the same thing there. Like, just like when Shredder falls into the trash compactor, he should be dead. And then when Casey does that, he could lie and say, oh, well, I couldn't turn it off in time. And when it felt trash in there, it just started to compact it. But that's bullshit. And he'd be arrested. Like, I don't know. Yeah. That's the whole problem with all 80s and 90s movies, though, is that, or I would say even into the 2000s, you get these things that's like, well, this has to happen and this happens. And like, nobody seems to care because you know what? Our dude walks away with the girl killing the bad guy. And that's all that matters. And it can make a very entertaining movie, but logically it just doesn't really fit. I will say though, it does hold up. And my wife watched Die Hard. So let me see. What else have we?
From the music aspect.
Music aspect.
Never heard the rap in the credits. It's not in the movie. I don't think it's throughout the movie. I think I just heard it in the credits. And I never remember that rap.
Oh, you don't remember? About? Yeah. TURTLT Power, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that one?
I think. Just the rap during the credits completely threw me off. And it's like telling the story about each one. And I mean, it's not like I'm thinking like da 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 bum ba da 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 da. I'm thinking of the song that I know, and then the only other rap I know is like ninja rap from the second movie with Vanilla Ice. I know.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, Vanilla Ice
guy.
Yeah. Well, no, you were right.
It was Vanilla Ice, but somebody else. Hammer Time. Who's that guy?
Well, no. That's in the first movie.
What?
MC Hammer.
Is that the one on the credits?
No. Well, I think they played again in the credits, but he's the one that goes, "This is what we do, what we do."
Oh, okay. That's not the one that's in the credits. Though.
No. The one that's in the credits is they do two songs. When they fade out from Cowabunga, they do 9.95, and then they go into TURTLE Power, Teenage Mutant Ninja.
Yeah, I think that's
half shell. Our heroes for this day and age. Who could ask for more? The crime rate was high with muggings mysterious.
I don't ever remember that, so I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
It's actually. I honestly, the only thing that's a great song, but they only get one thing wrong, which is they say Raphael's the leader of the group. And that is just not true, but that's okay because it's beyond that. It's a really good like summary of what the whole fucking movie is, which is really nice. But I'm surprised you don't remember that. That's
I don't think I ever. When I was a kid, I think when it was over, I'm just like, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm 7.
Well, that's, I mean, I'm only like, what, a year or two older than you, right? I feel like I'm
Yeah.
39. You're 37?
I'll be 30. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
only got a month.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. You just had your birthday, right?
No, in a month.
Oh, in a month. Yeah. It's either December or January. I always get thrown off.
Quit sticking the pen up your goddamn nose.
I didn't stick it up my nose, man.
It's right. It's close. Now you
I,
put it in your mouth.
I,
And you got
I,
boogies in
I itched it. I itched it with the pen.
Right.
I have a
But
pen.
no,
In
I
my
say
hand,
that was the biggest surprise of the movie as far as what I remembered was that song. So I'm like, oh, that's cool.
But what was your biggest takeaways, Nathan? Well, there was a rap song at the end,
Yeah.
and
because everything else, I mean, I knew. I was just
sure.
basically just rewatching it for enjoyment. I'm sitting there. Most of it I'm quoting before it happens with what I remember. But I mean, not like as far as like scenes that were really shocking, there weren't really any scenes where I was like, oh, I don't remember this at all.
Okay.
That I can think of. Like there wasn't anything where I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, Domino's. That was the other thing. The main thing was the pizza and the song.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the pizza, just the company.
Did you catch the hand of the turtle when Donatello was skateboarding when Michelangelo was waiting for the pizza? Did you see the hand go through the shot? Yeah, so the scene where Michelangelo is waiting for the pizza and Donatello skateboards, and they do this interesting shot where you're just getting the footwork of the turtle on the skateboard, and he does this weird, like, like circular, like 360 action. I think it's because he couldn't probably control himself with the glove on, but they got it in the shot, and it's one of those things that I notice now, and it's not that bad, but it's just more like, oh, his turtle hand was off. Now, did you find, I would say the last thing I would throw out there, did you find any of the jokes hit better being that you were an adult now?
Give me an example.
Like, I remember it being funny just because of the inflection, but it was like Ghostbusters. I would laugh at the inflection of how they spoke versus what they were actually saying. I remember I thought it was really funny when Danny is hiding out in the turtle's lair in the cabinet and he goes, "Don't shoot." And Raph goes, "I don't think it's loaded, kid." And it took me a while to get, I've got it about 10 years ago, but it's because they don't have any guns. I thought that was a really clever, because they're all holding swords. And he's like, "Don't shoot. I don't think it's loaded, kid." Like, no? Okay. All right. But jokes like that,
I don't think I laughed.
I thought that was really funny when I
mean, like at anything.
Oh,
like I remember, I mean, I enjoyed the movie, and I'll always enjoy it.
Sure.
But as far as does it make me laugh? No. I mean, I guess I had a smile, but I think it's just because I liked the movie. Nothing like made me like.
Well, and this was you probably can't make this joke anymore today, but the part where he's like, "You're a claustrophobic. You never looked at another guy before."
Oh, yeah. That would be one that I guess as a kid I didn't really get, and now I do.
Yeah. Well, then that's twofold, because first off, Casey thinks Donnie is calling him gay. Mm-hmm. And that's not. He's like, "No, you're afraid of enclosed places." And he's like, "I don't have to take this. I'm going to sleep in the truck." And if you think about that, the truck is an even smaller enclosed space.
And all I could think of was, I mean, Casey must have, like, he dresses like he only makes $5 an hour, and again, just because he's on top of a building, I guess I can't assume that he lives there. So I don't actually know, like, what Casey does for employment. I don't know if he was a superstar hockey player and he was given a signing bonus and then he was giving an injury that wasn't a subsidiary of said contract. Therefore, he would get the money that he was promised, even though he's not playing anymore. Like, so maybe he is rich and I don't know, but like the sewer is going to have more space than his apartment. So I'm like, does he sleep with his windows open? Are all his doors open? Is there a creation of space that this sewer is not providing? Because the height of the floor to the top of the sewer isn't going to be much different than the height of the floor to the top of his apartment, unless he's got vaulted ceilings, which the apartment complex was flat, so you can rule out. But then I'm like, it's just a movie. He's going to roll down the window in the truck anyway. We're fine. But yeah,
Right.
I kept wondering, like, the trucks are even worse.
Oh yeah.
He was in defense mode. So it didn't matter where he wanted to go. He just wanted to get out of there. Oh,
totally. And I mean, his performance of him like cracking the window down because it is a smaller space is just, I really appreciated some of those gags. And, you know, I didn't think it was necessarily funny, but I got it more like the references. It's like, oh, you dirty rat, you killed my brother, you dirty rat. Oh, that must be Splinter's favorite. Oh, it's because he's a rat. Oh, that's great. It was a joke. And they all laugh. I was just like, are they laughing because it was really bad? Like, that to me is funny. But if they're laughing because they genuinely thought it was funny, then it's not funny. But I don't know. I always took it that as an adult, I took that as they really didn't find it funny and they were just humoring her. And that was the joke. But yeah. So music wise though, what else music wise outside of, did any of their music like interest you, or was it just, oh, this is repetitious or not great, or did it keep you out of the movie?
It's the same way I thought about it when I was a kid. There wasn't anything like eye dropping or anything, like there was no real music that made me like, that would change how I felt about the movie. No.
Okay.
I mean, I guess they did they did a real good job of like creating this, like this, like the suspenseful chords and everything, I guess were good. I like how those were placed, but I mean, it was the music was predictable. You knew it was going to happen, but again, 1990, the movie was made for the music side. The music was just like
Now, did you feel the music did have a hint of what you would expect from a movie featuring ninjas, or like mysterious like robberies, like da, 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 or whatever?
Well, usually it's perfect fists and perfect force that a lot of Oriental music is. I mean, I didn't feel like any like stereotype, like we're gonna like make it authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I didn't, but I mean, like the transitions were good. And like I said, I was just mostly taken aback by the last one. I was just like, oh, okay. Seriously. I mean, yeah, it's not, I mean, music, it's not really that memorable, but but when the movie was opening, it's like, oh, I remember this song, and it kind of gets you into it. So I will say it's very memorable. It was written well, because like you can go 15 years without seeing it, or 20 years, and then hear those chords or hear that music and be like, oh, I know what that's from. So yes, it's memorable, I would say.
Well, especially with you write music yourself, I was interested in do you think, because I will say it was weirdly enough, like the score it felt like Oriental without going with the cliche route of going Oriental, yes. But it felt like a New York.
I would agree with some of that, especially with some of the instrumentation. It sounded like more like authentic, like, well, I would say more of the percussion side.
Well, especially the Shredder song. The Shredder song like slapped in terms of the drums when he comes in.
Yeah.
I still think that is, even though I don't think it's practical at all in terms of how you enter the room, it still is a really good shot, and I love it. Like, it's a beautiful shot because of how the shadow comes in first, and then him, and then with the music, and you still don't see his face yet. Like, you're just seeing the outline of him, and it's kind of badass. And here's the thing too. I think people forget is that because they watch the cartoon show, or they have a memory of the cartoon show, which is Shredder's a bumbling idiot, is that Shredder actually doesn't get defeated by the Turtles in the movie. He gets defeated by Splinter. And I always feel like
it's not he gets defeated by Splinter. He gets defeated by a trash compactor.
Well, but okay.
I mean, he is thrown from the ledge. So I guess, yeah, because had that compactor not been there, he would have hit the ground. Okay.
I'll go with this on it. He is defeated by Splinter and Casey Jones. In terms of, Casey's the one that turns the trash compactor on, and if the fall didn't kill him from Splinter letting go.
And I kind of forgot how Splinter held on to him, like the nunchucks, which they made it like, of course, when you show the only surviving weapon, lands on the ladder, damn well that's going to come back in less than a minute or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, how the nunchucks are crossed over the Shredder grabs Donatello's bow staff, right? It
No,
like
he
does
has
like right.
he has his own. He has
Oh,
his
he has his own
own.
thing. Okay,
Yeah, because
okay, and then
Don's is
that's when
wood.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His is metal and Donatello is made of wood. And yeah, because his has a spear at the end of it because he charges at him with the spear.
yeah.
And
To this day, I still don't know why he. I mean, when you're just holding it like this, I'm just like, oh, I bet a real ninja would not be that stupid. Like,
yeah,
because look, yeah, I'm just like I mean, and you're covering like 20 or 20, 30 feet. And it's like, yeah, we get what you're trying. Like, why would you do that? But then I thought I had forgotten that, Splinter flips him over and just holding him. Then I'm thinking this guy could barely hold like a brick 30 minutes ago. And now he's got the strength to hold up a man while on a ladder. I don't think he's just standing on the ledge because he was on the ladder when he did it because he didn't step onto the.
Oh no!
Was he on the base of the?
He was on the base of the.
Oh, was he?
Roof.
Okay, so he's leaning over, holding him, and that just takes a lot of strength. I'm like, man, he really got his strength back because before he couldn't walk. Now he's climbed a building. He's in shape. He's holding a man, and Shredder is the reason why he fell. It wasn't Splinter like I'm done with this, let go. Shredder made him.
Well, that's true too. Well, so that goes into something too, like Shredder technically killed himself. Splinter is the one that was holding it while he died. So because pride cometh before the fall, like he would rather kill Splinter and fall and die, which I will say that's kind of how the first book ends, except for there was no Splinter in the showdown. It was just the Turtles, which is he rather die with honor. He would rather blow the Turtles up and himself up or just bleed out and die than, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like, and I would have loved to, and again, this is why one of those things in retrospect, well, let me ask you this because you brought it up. Would you have liked to have seen shots of all the weapons being discarded? That way it's not
you
really.
saw them all discarded, right?
Well, you just see the Turtles, like you just see it's like weapons or he dies and they all look at each other and they throw them. And you're right. You're 100% right. It's filmmaking that's done when you're just you want to make sure that the audience pays attention to what was dropped. And in your situation, you're not wrong. They only focus on the nunchucks. You hear them all land.
I mean, I remember you hear them all land, but you just know as soon as they show the nunchucks hit that ladder, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, right. At some point, because we as viewers, we're trained to pick up on, well, if we're focusing on this over here, even if it's for a shot for a second, we know that's going to come into play later on. So
I think I was surprised though. I wonder when I first watched it, I bet I was surprised.
Oh yeah.
That Splinter was there.
Oh yeah. Well,
I would have been surprised. I probably would have knew it was coming, but I don't think it would have been Splinter. I would have thought like, oh, maybe Michelangelo is going to run and get him at the end because maybe he saw them. I think I would have done that rather than thinking Splinter was going to grab them and eventually lead to. I don't think I was thinking that when I was younger.
Well, something else to think about too is that when we both watched this movie, we were much younger. You were 7, I was 9 or 10. But I will say this, and watching it now as adults, it's something that you kind of hit on, I think intentionally, maybe unintentionally, is that we are trained to pick up on how this is going to go, right? But back then, we didn't know that. We are trained by what we watch. Mm-hmm. And technically, I mean, look, the guy who directed this, I thought he did a really good job with what he was up against. But at the same time, in terms of the general language of filmmaking, he's following all the same stuff that has been done before. And it's a lot harder to do different things in filmmaking in terms of how you present the story, in terms of editing and filming. Like what are some, I mean, I know you and I have talked, we quote Ghostbusters all the time. What are some other movies that you grew up a lot watching as a kid? Like, I feel like Nothing But Trouble might be one of them.
Well, I used to love Nothing But Trouble. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Growing up, I'm trying to think of what, like Angels in the Outfield.
Okay.
Bull Durham.
Did you watch
like
Major League
movies?
No, just in general, like the language of film is through from
Major League, Alien.
Okay.
Aliens.
Right. So
that's versus the volcano.
Right. And so see right there, you got a really good setup of those are filmmakers, especially I would say with Penny Marshall from Big. A League of Their Own, Major League, Aliens, Ridley Scott, James Cameron. I'm going to assume that you probably watched Terminator or Terminator 2.
Oh, I saw Terminator. I remember seeing Terminator and Terminator 2 in the theater.
So those shape how you view movies now. Like, you might not recognize that, but and same thing with Turtles is that, or it adds another example of what you know will happen. So when you watch films and they do like the nunchuck shot, like that has, as a child, trained us to expect when we see a movie and a character goes, "Oh, I don't need this pen," and he throws it over there, and then you do a shot of where the pen lands. You now know that pen is important and where it landed. It might not be important right away, but that's going to come back later. Those movies have trained us on how we viewed it. And I think that's fascinating too, because I watched a lot of movies and TV shows growing up, but I sometimes forget to think about the movies that have trained me. And Turtles is definitely one of them in terms of you're setting up the concept, the wide shot, they're on the roof, smaller shots, it's up close, medium shot, whatever. But I do wonder, would it have been more interesting if they showed all the, just to throw people off, to go, well, what the hell is happening? So when Splinter shows up and you're going like, oh no, like he doesn't have a weapon or anything, and then he pulls out the nunchuck, or you would probably just suspend disbelief for a second, because common sense would kick in, knowing that Splinter climbed up the ladder, the fire escape ladder, and he probably would have grabbed the nunchuck, but we don't see him holding it, so we're not, you know what I mean? Like, but it's technically filmmaking 101, and it's really interesting to see what has shaped us as, you probably watched Home Alone and stuff too, I'm going to assume too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff is just really, and probably Hook and others, probably
Hook,
a few
Gremlins, Critters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, Critters that was the movie that Raph saw, which, weird inside joke for you, Nathan, is that the movie Critters was produced by the company that was distributing Ninja Turtles. And it's part of it is that the Jim Henson people, I don't think they did the puppetry for that, and they felt the movie was kind of beneath them. And so that was their little inside joke that I heard. I thought I read that somewhere. That was an inside joke at slamming Critters and kind of slamming their parent company, because New Line Cinema has distributed both of them. It's like, where do they come up with this stuff? And I was just like, I guess that's, to me, is another adult joke, was that even if I took that part out of it, the fact that Raph went and saw a movie about little mutant creatures running around eating things is just weirdly funny to me. That's what he's complaining about, because he technically is a weird puppet thing too. All right. Well, that's all I got. I feel like. Any final thoughts, Nate, on Ninja Turtles, the movie from 1990?
Not really. I enjoyed it as a kid. I enjoyed it as an adult.
Well,
I would say, go ahead.
No, I mean, would you watch it again if it was on TV and you were like, okay, sure, I'll watch it? Or is it just more like,
it'd have to be a while. Like, it's not, it's not like a movie where if it's on and I'm not doing, I probably won't, but like, if I want to watch it, I would watch it.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
But if it's just on, probably not. Or I might watch it a little bit, then like go to work. But it's definitely not one that I have to watch all the way through, because I can just see what scene they're at and be like, oh, okay, I know it's going to go to here, go to there, because it's always going to be memorable to me.
Fair enough. I guess that to me is a good gauge on where you sit with the film currently. Is that like you enjoyed it as an adult years later, but like for example, if it was on like again right now and I wasn't doing anything else, I would probably turn it on as background noise, or I would probably get sucked into watching it. But yeah, not everyone's that way. So that's why I was curious on where it still held up for you. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. Anything else that you wanted to throw out there?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah,
I think just as far as like just a fun comedy to kind of take you back. I'm not to a simpler time, but like
a simpler time with horse and buggy.
Yeah. But it's just, or like that the fact that the pizza was $13, or reduced to 10, but like it was supposed to be $13. And the fact that you're seeing them hand an old 10 and not, one with all these colors on it, or the $20 bills that Danny steals that are conveniently out of a wallet when nobody in the world would have $20 bills like that in their wallet. No respectable man has money in their wallet that way to show that they have that many bills hanging out.
But technically, it was not a respectable man, though, Nathan. It was a woman. It was April.
The brown wallet.
Well, wait a minute. So he steals a wallet in the beginning of the movie, but there's a wallet in
the wallet that is the wallet from his dad.
Oh, that's not his dad's wallet. That's April's wallet. That's why at the end of the movie he goes, April, here, and gives her $20 back, because he feels bad that he stole it from her, and she's been nothing but polite and kind to him.
Oh, well, still it shouldn't hang out. A woman's billfold is even.
No, you're right. It's elongated usually, and or is it that we're not, like, to us, maybe, is it one of those, because I don't remember my mom having a purse. Like, my mom had a purse, but I just remember it was a purse. I don't remember what she actually held it in.
April's apartment when they visited?
Yeah. They had
in the beginning, they were at April's apartment?
Yeah, so it was the first shot of it's because he's like, I would like to know when my number one reporter gets mugged. Call me crazy. And she's like, well, Charles, I have a story to do. And Danny is in there reading a turtle comic book, weirdly enough.
Is he really?
Yeah, I think it's Fugitoid is one of the spinoffs from Ninja Turtles, the original comic books.
I never caught that. I probably would have never caught that. I knew he was reading something, but
to be fair, I didn't either. That's a weird little factoid I'm throwing out there. And then he looks up and he sees the wallet of $20, and he reaches up and grabs the 20, and it's her money.
Okay.
So that is to signal to us that Danny's a bad dude because he's stealing from our hero April's wallet. Yay, fun stuff. But
yeah, interesting things like that, or seeing like how the old like containers for like Whoppers and like old cars, or like people talking to each other, just little things that you don't see anymore.
Crazy.
So
fair enough. All right, well, Nathan, thank you so much for doing this, man. This has been a blast, and thank you all for listening at home. You have a good day. The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky is presented by D4K Studios. Executive producer is Nick Argenbright. Co-producers are Ashley Carlson and Catherine Ranella. The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky is also made possible by our Kickstarter backers. To see our backers, check out our show notes over at gbgpodcast.com. Our theme and end credit tracks for The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky are by chiptune artist Hide Your Tigers. You can check out their music by going to hideyourtigers.bandcamp.com. We also feature the track from Futurama, The Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings, an arrangement by our own Nathan Haley. If you enjoy our program, be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and to leave a review, or subscribe to wherever podcasts are streamed.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you showed up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy place!